Have you always loved playing Soldier TF2 but just couldn't keep those femboy thigh highs off of you? You love the classic game combo of splash damage and mobility, newly stylized as a support character? Then you should bother playing single-player games?
Mission failed.
Single-player games, much like Loki, allow us to engage in a wide variety of player fantasies. When you're the only person inhabiting a game, there's fundamentally no need for balance or consideration. Do you think the 3,000th bandit you killed in Skyrim was having fun? No one cares. He never should have come here. Well, people play video games for a great many reasons. I'm sure you have a friend who loves RPGs, or maybe even someone obsessed with simulator games. Relaxation versus stimulation, calmness versus rage. People play video games for many different reasons in many different ways. Obviously, as you can see, I'm a fan of hero shooters. I'm sure you are too, given that you're watching in the first place. So, how do single-player games pertain to Loki, the god of mischief? A healthy and hearty supply of player fantasies greatly increases the longevity of any game, as the player base finds an easier time committing to something they feel is theirs, or a playstyle that gets as close as possible to their desired playing experience. It's worth noting that, in my opinion, variety of player fantasies is the largest reason hero and class shooters have carved a niche alongside the ever-popular FPS genre. When I play Loki, it's because of my fascination with his player fantasy in a game such as Marvel Rivals. For example, think of some of the most prolific and popular characters in Rivals. I think of Spider-Man, who swings around like this is a single-player game all about adventure and whimsy. I think of Hela, a hit-scan character the likes of which has been seen in nearly every hero shooter. Even The Thing comes to mind, because I've been seeing him in every solo queue game of mine, who spends his days throwing out dozens of punches at the bad guys like this is a brawler from the days of Streets of Rage. This all begs the question, what is Loki's player fantasy? Loki's kit is delightfully nuanced and simple all at once. I'm actually going to go out of order for the first time in explaining Loki's kit. Loki's principal abilities and the collective backbone of his fantasy are his illusions. Using Doppelganger, Loki's right bumper ability allows you to place a clone of yourself within 30 meters. Likewise, using Deception, Loki's left trigger ability grants you serious invisibility and leaves a clone behind you. These clones copy your abilities and multiply your effectiveness. If you've ever played a card game before, you're acutely in tune with how orgasmic multiplicative effects are. So, Loki's a healer, a main healer at that, a serious machine designed for sustain and survivability the likes of Mercy and Luna. This is due to his primary fire, Mystical Missile. This ability is a projectile with a nice and forgiving splash effect, healing allies within the effect by 40 health and damaging enemies within the effect by 30 health. You can probably tell where this is going already. Think of Loki's crosshair as a laser pointer. Whatever surface your crosshair is pinned against, your gaggle of gangly gods will aim their primary fire there exactly. So, if you hit a target with your maximum output, 3 Lokis in total, yourself and 2 illusions, you're healing them for 120 health per shot. With 12 shots in the chamber and a firing rate of 1.75 shots per second, you're able to seriously equip your friends with some beefy health bars. Furthermore, Loki's left bumper ability is Regeneration Domain. You and your clones all place down an AoE around yourselves that provides 2 effects. Firstly, the AoE acts as a healing over time station. Think of Soldier 76's Biotic Field. However, Rivals plays a quick and dirty game with their design philosophy, and every character has access to something seriously broke. This ability converts all damage taken into further healing received. That's right. Not only do you heal your allies in this area through clever usage of ability text, you make them invincible, converting all damage they are receiving into an even greater amount of health. And yes, as a reminder, your clones cast this ability alongside yourself. Wait, stop the video. You're experiencing a message that can only be received by prospective Loki mains. If you're hearing this, that means the multiverse is acknowledging your interest in this character. Now, it's worth mentioning that Loki's runestone can be destroyed, preemptively removing the effects of this ability, but let's keep that information away from the prying eyes of our peons. Finally, Loki's rightmost face button, Devious Exchange, allows himself to swap locations with a clone. Though looking at the desired clone gives you greater control over where you blink to, looking at a target is not necessary for the effectiveness of this ability, assuming you're within the 30-meter range. So, great. You're a healer with every dreamy ability in the book, multiplying your own healing output, effective repositioning capabilities, and literal invincibility. This guy produces serious healing and sounds like he would be a real nightmare in a meta made up of sustain, longevity, and Loki's ult is God of Deception, which is really quite simple. Ever played Echo in Overwatch? Ever played the Morrigan in Smite? You become another character, ally or enemy, receive a full ult bar. The officially standardized usage of this ultimate is to copy your allied support, given that support ults are so powerful and impactful that they almost single-handedly control the flow and pacing of any game. However, it is worth noting that Loki ult is used more creatively within pro play. If you care about that, it's great to have all of these abilities, but how do they feel? I love XCOM 2.
Okay.
I know it's not popular, so bear with me here. XCOM 2 is a top-down strategy game focused on expelling foreign alien operatives from your God-blessed Earth. Any humans who remembered the terms of the Geneva Convention are long dead, so you use whatever tactics available to you to reacquire your American right of freedom, prosperity, and imperialism. When I play Loki, I'm playing XCOM 2, not some high-flying, overstimulating hero shooter. How, you ask? Well, Loki's clones are destructible. I would actually describe them as highly destructible. Your doppelganger ability works off of charges, and your deception ability is important for your own survival. Pair this with some lengthy cooldowns, 12 seconds for your doppelganger ability and 15 for deception, and you now have an unusual element within hero shooters: resource management. See, here's the thing about Loki. By yourself, you're basically useless. It's not hard to imagine how a character balanced around multiplication of their output falls short when their output is not being multiplied. You're not achieving your win condition. When I play XCOM, each of my little pawn guys are a means to an end. I need each of them to contribute a certain amount to seize victory from the oppressive tentacles of these foreign aliens. Likewise, each clone of yours must survive long enough for your multiplication window to be as large as possible. How do you do this? Your clones cannot move. Your clones cannot be healed by you or themselves. How do you stay alive in a world where you can't move or heal? Positioning. In order to maintain your multiplication window, your clones must be put in advantageous positions. This is why Loki is seen as so excellent on maps like Shin Shibuya, because the verticality allows your clones to be placed in some places most opponents just don't bother checking. As Loki, your resources, your cooldowns, come back at a linear rate. There's nothing you can do to go into the patch notes and reduce your cooldowns. The only factor you have any control over is how long they stand there, so your total healing output in the game is determined by your clone uptime, which is determined by how cleverly you position them. There's a lengthy video to be made about risk versus reward pertaining to how your clones can't just survive, but they must have line of sight to your targets to effectively assist, not even to mention usage of your regeneration domain. But editing Alex is probably 6 cigarettes and 60 hours of editing deep by now, so Script Alex will exercise a bit of mercy on his damned soul. So, you're managing resources in a hero shooter. That's pretty novel. That's pretty fun. I like that. That tickles my strategist player brain. All this objective analysis of Loki is fun and all, but what subjective experience is formulated here? Within games, the numbers and balancing efforts only serve as a platform for the fun of the player. Well, a few factors get combined together to make Loki feel like a single-player game. First, his aim is far from demanding. If you've ever played a character with sizable splash damage, you're likely familiar with the level of focus required to hit your targets. Just shoot the ground within 10 meters of them and you're golden. Playing Loki isn't a constantly stimulating tide of ups and downs like an aim-intensive flanker where every missed shot sees your self-esteem halved. 2, he's refreshingly independent. With a 30-meter blink armed with a low cast time, if you find yourself falling into an undesirable situation, you can just leave. Furthermore, Loki's deception ability, when coupled with tight timing, is a surprisingly effective escape tool for whenever a flanker is breathing down your neck. 3, he has novel strengths. Each match of playing Loki will be varied and engaging. Hell, every cast of your ult can be varied and engaging, should you so choose. Single-player games have a way of escaping the endless monotony inherently present within online multiplayer games with refreshing changes, regularly accomplished through things like perk trees. With Loki, gameplay is constantly shifting underfoot, which keeps the mental experience of playing him rather salient as opposed to linear and bland. So, the question remains, why do I love Loki? Is it because he's easy and forgiving like a single-player game? Is it because somehow NetEase has developed a character principally about resource management in a hero shooter game? Is it because he's irresistibly fine and his accessible kit permits me to dual-wield akimbo dueling and playing? It's a bit of all of it, yeah. The fact that I can play a character that's so tactically engaging and mechanically forgiving at the same time gives me a pretty consistent experience when I click on him, and I'm really grateful to have that option in the hero shooter game. I mean, I can fine-tune, customize what type of engagement and stimulation I'd like to have simply by clicking on the character. This is a big portion of the appeals of Marvel Rivals for me personally. Their design philosophies are both inclusive and diverse, which I think is fantastic for the longevity of any game. Anyway, this script is getting unbearably long, and I love it too much to go back and make any edits, so let's all take a trip down to the subscribe button as a way of saying, thank you, Editor Alex. Thank you, Editor Alex. I appreciate your labors. Even though it feels like we hate you, we love you. Alright, there's our closing section featuring our most charismatic member of the cast yet, Editor Alex. This is Script Alex signing off and saying thank you for watching. Making these videos is a labor of love, and I hope we can all resume pretending to like the video games that we play. Here's me hoping that you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next Why I Love episode.